doing? Afternoon, everybody. I'm sure you guys missed the heck out of me. I know I missed the heck out of you guys. What's going on? I'm doing great. Doing great. Exciting time of year.
Mike, Go ahead, Tony.
Go ahead,
The floor
Tony.
is yours.
Did you have opportunities to go elsewhere, and why didn't you pursue them?
Well, I was under contract, so the only way I could have left if they would have allowed me to leave, and I heard there was some scattering of interest out there, but it didn't matter. I wanted to stay here. I wanted to be a part of this franchise. Like I said last week to Andrew, when our website interviewed me, we have some unfinished business. We did some really good things last year, and I'm very pleased with the progress and the direction that we're going in, but we're nowhere near where we need to be to help this football team win a lot of games, and that's one of the reasons I'm really excited about staying.
Mike, you got background, Kevin. Did you see him on this track as potentially going to be a head coach at some
Funny,
point?
back in 2011, probably not. I was a little younger. He was a lot younger. But you could see him grow as a coach. You can see him grow as a leader. And the last maybe 3 or 4 years, we started talking about it in Minnesota. And not a lot, but every now and then, because I was interviewed with the Bears, I think in 2013 maybe, and he would ask me about that experience and that situation and what it was like. And I could just see his interest and his growth as a young coach. And I knew that being a head coach was definitely in his future. Absolutely.
What traits and characteristics stand out to you that makes him
Well, he's smart. He's a good leader. He's got charisma. He's got the kind of that it factor that most good head coaches have, and that you can lead a team. He's got humility, and I think he's got the ability to stand in front of a room and lead a football team. And I think that's what all great head coaches need to have.
What can you do now at your second year as coordinator? What can you do to build this your special team?
We got a long way to go. Our 2 young kickers, punter, our young guys have to improve. Year 2, some of the things that maybe not allowed to happen, but we didn't get on them as much. Maybe hitting a subpar punt or missing a PAT and that sort of thing, which are obviously unacceptable. We got to make sure that stuff doesn't happen again. So we're going to be more consistent. We're going to be stronger. We're going to be better at kicking PATs and field goals, better at situational punting. Our return game's got to improve immensely. I think we've got a long way to go there. I think our 2 young returners did a good job. Our 2 running backs did a good job last year for us for the most part. Whether we continue to get them to develop or we bring in new return men, that remains to be seen. But at the end of the day, we have to improve as a return unit as well. So there's a lot of factors that need to improve. Coverage as well. Punt coverage at the beginning of the year was not very good. We got better as the year went on. Kickoff coverage was good pretty much the whole year. But we can still get better in that regard as well. So, we have to take advantage of our venue. We have to take advantage of our stadium. We have to not miss PATs into the dog pound end. We got to make everything. We have to make sure our opponents miss into that end, like we've talked about before. So I'm excited about where we're at, but I'm really excited about the future.
What was your message to those 2 guys, the 2 young kickers, when they left?
I had a good discussion with them, and I've been in discussion with them, texting them, called them a couple times and see how they're doing, their off-season's going. I think the big thing I stressed was what I just said, consistency. They did so many good things. There's a reason why they made our football team. There's a reason why they won those jobs. But if you're not going to be more consistent, then we have to start, making our list and looking elsewhere. And I don't think we're there yet. We're not even close to being there yet. But they have to understand that there's always going to be that issue. There's always going to be young men, young kickers and punters behind them that are on the street, that are willing, to do whatever it takes to get on an NFL team. And if they look at it that way and they push themselves in a positive direction, then I think we're going to be okay, because they do have the talent to do all the things that we're asking them to do.
Talk about how might you be instrumental in sort of easing the transition to a whole new coaching staff, and you've got a bunch of players that I'm sure are shell-shocked and bewildered after this thing was kind of blown up after a year. So what role can you play in kind of getting these guys on board with everything and rolling?
Well, the first thing is a lot of our coaches have already come into my office and asked about their position players, because they know I know the whole team. So they've come ask me about the DBs, the linebackers, the D-line, the wide receivers, et cetera. And I think I've eased that transition from the coaching staff perspective. But in terms of the players, I'm just going to be who I am. I'm going to be positive. I'm going to, what Kevin's message is going to permeate down to the coaching staff and to the rest of the team. I'm going to deliver that message. I'm going to support that message. And I think when we do that and we're all on the same page, we're on board with the same program, that we're going to be in good shape, at least with the transition, and then go from there and build from there.
When you were at in Minnesota, did you get a sense of how Kevin felt about special teams and that? I mean, every coach gives lip service to it, but some put more priority on it than others.
Yeah, I mean, he was coaching quarterbacks when I left, so obviously they weren't going to play special teams. But prior to that, when he was coaching running backs or tight ends, he was very supportive in his room. And I think that's what makes a great coaching staff, when the linebacker coach can walk into his room and tell those young linebackers, hey, you better play well in special teams, because if you're not a starter on defense and you're not playing well in special teams, not only will you not dress, you might not make our football team. So Kevin was always very supportive in that regard as a position coach, and I thought that was huge, especially with the running backs when he coached them, and the tight ends, which are two pivotal rooms that help our special teams units.
Mike, I'm wondering what your reaction is to the kickoff rule in the XFL.
Didn't watch a game. I'm focused on finding a returner, finding other core guys, trying to help improve our roster. Nothing against the XFL. I'm sure it's a fun league, but some people have told me about it and how the rule is. I'm kind of a purist. I'm an NFL purist. I actually was mad when they outlawed the wedge back in 2011. So, which I'm glad we did, because that was a dangerous play. But I think the way the kickoff return is going now, it is a safer play than it never has been, and the last 2 years have proven that. I don't like that there's so many touchbacks, and maybe that's one way to get rid of touchbacks. But, we didn't kick a lot of touchbacks on kickoff coverage. We gave people the opportunity to return it, and we got after them, and we were pretty aggressive in the return game as well. And I think going forward we'll have to pick and choose our spots in that regard. But, I like our rules, and I think I'm all for player safety. But at the end of the day, an exciting play that has been a part of our game forever, why ruin it? Why tinker with it too much? That would be my question.
Done any stats? I'm just curious on the percentage of, if you just take the ball in the 25 versus trying to run it out.
Yeah, obviously, if you're better in the return game, we weren't not as good on kickoff returns as we need to be. If we get better, which we plan on doing, we'll take some opportunities out 2 or 3 or 4 yards deep and bring it out to the 30, 35, 40-yard line, because those are huge plays. When you do that, every now and then you're going to get tackled at the 21, the 22, the 18, because you're taking a chance. We did that in Minnesota for years with the 2 great returners we had there, Percy Harvin and Cordero Patterson. We used to bring them all out. And sometimes you get tackled inside the 20, but it's risk reward like anything else in football. And we need to be smarter this year than we were a year ago when we bring those out, if that makes sense.
It didn't seem like you got a whole lot. Well, not a lot of good things happened when you took one out of the end zone.
A couple times, but not enough. You're right, not enough. Yeah, we need to get that point, or we'll just take a knee like a lot of teams do, and I don't want to do that. 'Cause I think you can take advantage of that situation, especially in our stadium, when guys are trying to kick touchbacks and they're kicking a 3-7 hang time kick 3 yards deep. That's a huge advantage for the return team. But when it's 4-1, 4-2 hang time 5 yards deep, you're going to take a knee, because obviously that'd be, you're taking too big a chance there to try to get a big play.
How much do you chalk up last season's problems to just an inexperienced young roster?
You know what? This year's a new year. There are a lot of things happened last year that weren't good enough, and I'm glad we have an opportunity to get better this year.
In terms of then either a culture change or maybe more accountability, was that an issue last season?
Again, I'd really not want to focus a whole lot on last year, just to be fair to last year's staff and last year's, I was part of that staff and last year's players. 2020 is a new year, and I'm excited about the new year. I'm excited about the direction that we're going, and let's get at it.
This is the time of year the competition committee sends out its surveys and talks to special teams coaches.
Sure.
Is there anything afoot in regard to changing any kickoff
Well,
or punt?
probably not, Tony. The only thing we need to look at is the onside kick percentage of success, which is very low. And again, I'm not in favor of a 4th and 15 from the 25 or whatever it was. I think that's silly. I think you can make some changes to it. You can declare that you're going to kick the onside kick, and then you can have a running start or something. It's still a safe enough play, but it needs to be a play where you have a higher percentage of getting that kick. I think it used to be in the 20s. Now I think last year was 8 or 9%, if that high. So in order to take advantage of the rules, and maybe we can tweak that a little bit, but put it back similar to what it was before with a, that 4 or 5 yard running head start, and declare that you're going to onside kick it, and then see what happens. But we're going to talk a little bit about that at the combine. The coordinators that were involved 2 years ago with the rule changes for kickoff return. We're going to meet with the league, Dave Gardy, and the league again this year at the combine. And that's one of the issues we'll talk about.
What do you think the biggest, you mentioned return, you want to get better on return a couple times. I know it's a team game and all that, but what do you think the bigger problem was with the blocking, or that you just didn't have that right guy?
Probably a little bit of both. I mean, we had a huge one in Seattle, and we had a huge one against Cincinnati at last game of the year, and with two guys that had never returned before. So, but obviously those were the two bigger plays that we had, and we had a lot of other returns that weren't very good. So I think it's a combination of the both, to be honest with you.
Part of coaching change, staff changes before. So what's the most difficult part when you're one of the couple of holdovers and you get a whole bunch of new guys coming in, especially, including the head coach?
The most difficult part, I guess, just getting to know the staff, but that's not hard. I mean, I'm a people person where we got, like Kevin came in and said earlier, we got good people. And when you get a bunch of good people around each other that are good football coaches, the sky's the limit. So, is that difficult? Probably not. I'll get to know the guys as we get going, some of which I already had a relationship. I've known Joe Woods for a long time, and, obviously we kept Stump, we kept Doug, which was great. But, and Drew Petzing, I've known Drew, I've known Jeff Howard in the past. So that part makes it a little bit easier. I don't know. I guess it's the only difficult part was seeing, good, friends of mine that were good coaches leave the building. That's always hard. But the future is the fun part.
Joe and Kevin and some of these guys before. What can you say about what you think will happen here in terms of structure, discipline, organization, attention to detail, and things like that?
Well, I think, any good program, any good locker room has attention to detail. It has discipline. It has accountability. And I know those things are, Kevin will emphasize, and we'll all support him in that, obviously, and we'll go forward from there. I think the big thing that I like is that coaching is teaching. We've talked about that before. And great coaches are great teachers. And I think we've assembled a good staff of the guys that I know are really good teachers. And the guys that I don't know as well, I hope that's the case, and I'm sure it is, or they wouldn't be here. So I am excited about seeing the growth of the staff and the growth of the team under this new staff. And, like I said before, the sky's the limit.
Specifically learn about Joe Woods those few seasons you were together in Minnesota?
So it was fun. Joe, on Saturday mornings after the special teams meeting was over, I would go into Joe's DB room and just listen to his meeting for about 15, 20 minutes. Every Saturday morning is kind of my routine, because what I like is I like watching good coaches teach. And I learn from that. And it makes me a better coach, makes me a better teacher. So I knew Joe was a great teacher right from the get-go. And I think he'll do a phenomenal job with not only our DBs and their growth, but the entire defense, as I know he'll be the coordinator. But, at the end of the day, I think that's what, makes it exciting for me that he's here. He's such a great teacher.